Uh, Dr. John. Yeah. So
Yes,
start.
I'm good.
Yeah, and as I told you, I will introduce you first in Arabic, and then you could start. Okay?
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, thank you. آه راح نبلش حاليا المحاضرة وراح أقدم الدكتور. السيدات والسادة الحضور الكرام، أهلا وسهلا بكم. يسعدنا ويشرفنا حضوركم ويسرنا في سيلة للتدريب وحفظ التراث استكمال سلسلتنا من المحاضرات ذات الصلة بعلم إدارة المصادر التراثية ومواضيع أخرى مرتبطة به ضمن مشروع علم الآثار الأردني كصناعة مستدامة. في سلسلتنا هذه سينضم إلينا مجموعة رائعة من أهم المتخصصين من الأردن ومن حول العالم العاملين في المجال من الآثاريين والمرممين والإنثروبولوجيين وعلماء المتاحف لتقديم مجموعة متنوعة من أكثر من 20 محاضرة مختلفة ستستمر على مدار العام. وفي هذه المناسبة اسمحوا لي أن أشكر جميع المحاضرين والمساهمين العاملين على إنجاح واستمرارية هذه السلسلة. ويسرنا اليوم أن نستضيف الأستاذ الدكتور جون واينلاند الذي سيقدم محاضرة بعنوان مشروع موارد الكرك الافتراضية VKRP نظرة عامة على المورد الرقمي للتعليم والتراث الثقافي. الدكتور واينلاند يعمل الآن كعميد كلية الآداب والعلوم وأستاذ التاريخ وعلم الآثار، كما يقوم بالتدريس في كلية الدراسات العليا بجامعة كنتاكي، ويركز في أبحاثه على علم الآثار وتاريخ المسيحية والشرق الأوسط والعصور الوسطى والتاريخ القديم، ولكن مجال بحثه الرئيسي ونشره هو تاريخ وآثار عالم البحر الأبيض المتوسط. يعمل الدكتور وايلاند بالتنقيب في المملكة الأردنية الهاشمية منذ 30 عاماً، ويقود جولات دراسية إلى المواقع الأثرية والتاريخية. حصل على منح تزيد قيمتها عن 200 ألف دولار لعمله في مجال التكنولوجيا وتدريس وعلم الآثار، وقد شغل مناصب قيادية مختلفة، ما في ذلك جمعية آثار الشرق الأدنى ورئيس المنطقة الجنوبية الشرقية للمدارس الأمريكية للأبحاث الشرقية. ومن منشوراته عدة مقالات في مجلات مثل مجلة جمعية أرام لدراسة بلاد ما بين النهرين والمجلة الأمريكية لعلم الآثار ونشرة جمعية آثار الشرق الأدنى. سيتم بث المحاضرة مباشرة عبر زوم وعبر وسائل التواصل الاجتماعي ولاحقا عبر منصتنا على اليوتيوب في حالة رغبتكم في الرجوع إليها. وفي نهاية المحاضرة سيتاح للحاضرين شخصيا وافتراضيا عبر زوم السؤال والنقاش، حيث سيجيب الدكتور عن استفساراتكم. والآن فليتفضل الدكتور مشكورا. So please, Professor, you could start. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I want to thank you and thank everyone involved with SELA to be able to come now and to share with you my work that we've been doing. So let me try to share my screen now. And let's see if you can let me know how this is working. It's kind of hiding let me do this. There we go. Okay, now. Okay. There we go. All right, I think I have it set up correctly now. So I want to thank everyone. I'm coming to you actually from my home. I live in Florida, in America. So very pleased. I think of Jordan, always have thought of Jordan as my second home. So I've been working in archaeology there for a very long time. since the 1980s, is when I first went to Jordan. But today I want to talk to you about the work that I have done in the Karak Resources, the Virtual Karak Resources Project. Okay, and here are links, and I'll have these up a little later if you want to go look at some of the things that we have created. And this project, I've entitled it an overview of a digital resource for teaching and cultural heritage. And so we have this cultural heritage to be preserved as we were working on this project. So really, to understand the Virtual Karak Resources Project, we have to have at least a brief introduction to the Karak Resources Project. So of that project, I am the associate coordinator. Of the Virtual Karak Resources Project, I am the director of that part of the project. So this site then is, as you would of course imagine, in the Karak district. It has been affiliated with ASOR and their projects, as well, of course, as with the Department of Antiquities of Jordan. There have been 7 seasons of field work, and we've had at least 130 participants from outside of Jordan, although we've had lots of people from inside of Jordan who have worked with us, and about 40 educational institutions from about a dozen different countries. The project now is in its final publication phase, I think we would call it. We're hoping to be able to publish final reports within the next year or two. The overall director of the Karak Resources Project, I should mention him. He's Dr. Gerald Mattingly, professor at Johnson University, and a longtime archaeologist, and a long time working in Jordan. As I mentioned, I'm the associate coordinator, and I am currently preparing a coin study. We found a few coins at the site, and I'm working on the Roman and Byzantine pottery. So here you see some of our workers, volunteers, and so forth, who have come to work at a site called Medebi. So our work was and is divided into 3 big areas. One, of course, is an excavation. This is the one that gets the most attention, I believe. Obviously, we're actually excavating and moving soil and uncovering a fort in Moab, what would have been ancient Moab, 7th century BC fort. And that's a case study in the resource utilization. And then we also did regional archaeological survey to locate new sites, of which we located at least 100, 80 to 100, to add to the Miller-Pinkerton survey. And then, of course, we conducted regional scientific studies of the Karak region, where we were doing all this work as an environmental soil science and geology and a lot of other things like that to add to this project. So I assume most of you might know where Medebi is, maybe not. It's not too far from Al-Karak, and it's located near a geological area known as the Faj. And so here is the Faj, and here is Karak. And so I'll put a map up here, but you can see it's near the Zered, or Wadi El Hissa. And we're down near the end of this. So what this is a geological, a graben. It's called a graben. So this is a fault that dropped, and it creates a U-shaped valley, which was very important for ancient trade routes. So we believe that our fort here, our fortress, was monitoring, perhaps you might say guarding, one end of this as it would have come from the desert and from people coming from the south. So here's a little close-up to show you some of the sites near it. There's the Faj al-Askar and Morega, Mohai, and then Madevi. And so this is where most of our, well, excavation work, all of it took place here at Madevi, right here. And as we zoom in on it, you can see the site highlighted here. And the area that we surveyed, we actually surveyed, we had permits to survey the entire area between these two large wadis, the Wadi Mujib and the Wadi al-Hassa. And we didn't do much survey in the north for our project. We were mostly down here in the southern part of this plateau. And obviously a lot of our work centered around this site. This is an aerial view of our site. Overlaid with it, superimposed over it, is the outlines of the fortress, the Iron Age fortress, and the different areas which we designated and where we excavated, area A, B, C, D, and E. Probably the one that gets the most attention is B, because this is the entrance to the fortress. And there we had large capitals, much as you see decorating the PowerPoint up here. These capitals brought a lot of attention to the site at the time. And a lot of domestic stuff over here in D. This A went out to the wall and connected it to this inner structure, which is later period. It's not Iron Age. This dates to Byzantine, maybe some Roman, but definitely Byzantine and Umayyad, and perhaps beyond. So with that brief introduction, let me go to the Virtual Karak Resource Project then, or VKRP as we called it for make it shorter. So here is the Proto-Aeolic capital from Madebi, in the area I was supervising, where we excavated. This one was found in situ, and it was face down. This was face down in the soil right in front of this stone pier. And we were able to lift it and put it in place, and you see it fits very nicely on this pier wall, and you notice the beautiful carvings that are on this. So what is the Virtual Karak Resource Project then? As I said already, it's an outgrowth of the Karak Resources Project. And of course, that, as we've already mentioned, is a multi-year and multidisciplinary research project in central Jordan, on the fringe of the desert, and near that geological feature known, we call it as the Faj, which was for trade, we believe, and also communication where people could travel. Our team, the team of KRP, is the people that I drew upon to help me with VKRP. This is a team of scientists. We had geologists, soil scientists, that sort of thing. We also had historians of various periods, anthropologists, archaeologists, and others that would join us. Some came as student volunteers. Many were professors at various institutions, many of them in America, some in Canada, some in England, and we've had some people from Europe, mainland Europe as well as, of course, many people from Jordan, the Department of Antiquities, and local workers, as well as local scholars. Now, the real thing that drove this idea to have this project called Virtual Karak Resources Project was started by a funding from the Carnegie Mellon Foundation. the Carnegie Mellon Foundation was offering a grant for teaching and technology through a group of colleges and universities, one of which was where I was teaching at the time. I was teaching in Kentucky, and this is the Appalachian College Association, which has about 20 colleges, universities that are all, well, relatively small, but they would team up together to be able to do projects. And the Mellon Foundation offered these teaching technology grants. So my dean at the time was quite insistent that I apply. So I did, after her urging me 3 or 4 times. And I decided if I was going to try something like this, I needed to combine it with my other work. And that other work, of course, was excavating in Jordan. And so I took that idea and I said, well, they want this to be multidisciplinary, and they wanted to incorporate several different colleges and universities. And my application was approved, and I received over $100,000 for 3 years to work on this. And then a 4th year to develop an online archaeology course. I received an additional $50,000. So this helped to fund the work. And if it wasn't for this, really, I'm sure this project would have never have happened. It was added to the Appalachian College Association Virtual Center. Okay, so that's how it got going. And so I looked at the requirements of this grant, and I decided the project we had going in Jordan would fit this, and that is how it came about. So the idea here was to produce what we came to call teaching modules, what I called teaching modules. These are modules, or basically we created a website, and on there we had these different modules or units that would offer topics that could be, the idea was this would be able to get this into the classrooms of small universities and colleges that are teaching at the university level. They could incorporate this into various courses as an assignment or as a viewing. So courses like history or anthropology, even different sort of science courses, that sort of thing. So we ended up then with wanting to put instructor helps, and then images, maps, and outlines so that people could create PowerPoints more easily. Even some questions, bibliographies, this sort of thing. This is all set up really for the instructor to have access to these, and even linked to relative websites perhaps we could find at the time. So this was all digitally based, and to be used by the Appalachian College Association schools. However, it was open to everybody. Anybody could use it. It was freely there. And I know that many different courses, university courses, have utilized this material over the years. I don't have a good list of all of that, but we ended up creating, I decided to have 4 different categories that would fit what we were doing. Archaeological, so this would be, actual related to field work, processes, and that sort of thing. Then historical modules or units, case studies as we called them. The historical then would, of course, relate to the history of the region, to primarily the Karak region, sometimes beyond that. And then cultural items, especially our anthropologists were working with local Bedouin and a local village. And then environmental. So these were more scientific, like soil science and things like that. 24 units or case studies have been completed, and were posted onto a website. And these were written by a international team of experts. So, for example, the professor who wrote about soil scientists is a soil scientist who's worked at many sites, archaeological sites, not only in Jordan, but in Italy and Greece and elsewhere. Okay. The professor who wrote about Islamic pottery studied Islamic pottery at Oxford University, and is an expert in that sort of thing. So you get the idea. So these professors and authors, many of them came from the Appalachian College Association colleges that were already a part of our team, but we also then had others who were part of our team and some that we recruited that way. For example, University of Manchester, Oxford University, and many others. Well, just to give you an idea what are in these, here's just the titles of some of them that you can find there. Under historical studies, we found a Scythian projectile point that was actually wedged into the wall of our fortress. It's an iron 2 Scythian point. We did a study on that. Late Bronze Age settlement patterns of the area was included. Of course, one about our capitals, and we have many capitals and capital fragments. And so that's a study of that, which of course got a lot of the Proto-Aeolic or Volute capitals. That there are several in Jordan in different places. For example, the Amman Citadel has a fragment, and there are other sites. I saw that you had a talk, or going to have a talk, from Balua. We had a longtime excavator of Balua who came and worked with us, and he took us around the site and showed us a capital. He wanted us to look at it. You think this is what the same thing? It was very similar to ours. Of course, out of basalt there, I believe. Anyway, Assyrian and Moabite relations. Of course, we're very close to several Roman forts on the Arabian frontier. And then what you see some pictures here. Here's a Roman fort up at the top, out in the desert. And then down here is, we did a study of the Datras temple, which is not too far from where we excavate, doing measurements and photography of it, and putting up a case study so people can learn more about the temple there, the Nabatean temple. Other historical studies, Herodian estates near the Jordan River, Iron Age military sites in Moab, Iron Age gates of Moab and Israel, the Karak Plateau in the early Islamic period, the Karak Plateau in the Ayyubid Mamluk period, and Karak Castle. So this is just a sampling of some of the ones we had. And then, of course, our team, we used photographs that we took, drawings, and we had people write these up. So that's historical, just an idea of the historical ones. And Roman roads, as you can see, the milestone here. We also had cultural studies that are included. So here we see a woman using a drop spindle that's there. And here we see some of our anthropologists in the village of Smakia with this woman here, who was one of the oldest people in the village at that time. And so we took a look then at this Christian village to see how it was organized and how it was set up there in the Karak area. We also studied the Bedouin of the Karak Plateau, some of their practices, especially pastoral ones. Then environmental. Okay, environmental. This has to do with soil science, flotation, and other things like that. As soil science, you see this map in the upper left here. the soil scientists characterize the soils found in our area of our work. As you can see, of course, this is the Karak Plateau. And so he took samples and made up this map, and then try to see how that relates to the way people settled, to the agriculture, and how the climate perhaps had changed from ancient times to the modern. Flotation and sampling, you see down here in the lower corner. Important to get carbonized material to see what people were eating and what was growing. And then a look at the geomorphology of the plateau, as well as a study somewhat of the nature reserves in the area. So this, we're very widespread in our studies, but it's all the history, culture of the area, particularly of Karak. Then the archaeological units, which might, of course, be of special interest to you in your studies. Here we see pottery reading, sifting, and this is us going out to the site very early in the morning. And so we see now, one is pottery from the ground out. This is how we process pottery, find it, and process it. A student's perspective on archaeological excavation. A supervisor's perspective. This is really for teaching this in class. I still use these two in archaeology courses that I teach. I use it. And then pottery of the Islamic period. And then eventually, as I said, I created an online archaeology course that I taught online for these colleges, these smaller schools, universities, and colleges of the Appalachian region. I did that for several years, and I still do a kind of form of this today. And with that, of course, we have many other issues that we bring up. These modules have been incorporated into many university classes. I don't have a good list for you all, but some of them were anthropology classes, some of them were actual archaeology classes, some of them were history classes, things of that nature. Okay. So KRP is still on the web. In other words, you can go see this material if you would like. You could see it even now. And this is our project website. And as a part of our project website, we have many of these case studies there available for anyone to use. And of course, if you ever have questions, this is a good email to reach me by, although I have more than one email, maybe like some of you. But this is sort of my personal email if you have questions or comments. That is my brief overview of what we have done. One of the things I thought that I would do is actually go to the website and show you some of these case studies, but maybe before I do that, I should pause and see if there are any questions. I don't know if people will be able to speak them out or if they've been typing them. Let me see if I can stop the sharing, and then I can see okay. Are there any questions at this point or any comments that maybe I could clarify? And then what I want to do is move to showing you some of those case studies in particular.
في حدا عنده أسئلة؟ لأنه في حدا عنده أسئلة على هاي الجزء، لأنه الدكتور رح ينتقل كمان شوي عشان يعرض حالات دراسية أو cases studies اشتغلها. فإذا في حدا عنده أسئلة ممكن يكتبها سواء بالعربي أو بالإنجليزي أو يحكيها. I guess for now we have no question.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think what I'll do is I'll share my screen again, and I'll go and show you where this is located, currently located on the web. And that way, if somebody wants to take a closer look at any of it, it's there and readily accessible. So let me find the proper place for this. And I will share the screen. Let me close that out. And let me go to the website itself. Okay, here it is. So let me stop the sharing. Let me try that again. I have two screens, and so that sometimes confuses me. Here we go. You should be able to see that now. Can you see that now? Called Karak Resources Project. Okay. So this is the opening screen to our website. And it just tells you about our project, which has been ongoing, for several years. This is the excavation of that one of those capitals that we were talking about. We're excavating it here. But the part that I really wanted to show you is if you go to the top of the website up here, it has VKRP articles. Okay. So let's just go down to one of these. And this is a little introduction to it. But let's take a look at how about pottery of the Islamic period? Okay. Might be of interest. The pottery of the Islamic period. This was written by Dr. Marcus Milwright, who's trained, got his doctorate at Oxford University, and he is has been working on Islamic pottery or pottery from the Islamic period for a long time. So here you can see, as a little introduction, why is pottery important? And here are some photos of some of the pottery. So these things could then be used, or just be informative if you wanted a little overview of Islamic pottery, a quick overview, or if you wanted to create a PowerPoint or a lesson for students, you could use part of the text, you could use the photos, and you could create an overview of some of the pottery and some of the periods of the pottery. Here's some handmade pottery that we found at Medebi, 13th or 14th century. And here is a clay oven. And here is a handmade bowl and some other things found at the castle and so forth. Okay, so that gives you an idea of that. There are others we could look at, maybe quickly. Let's take a look at pottery from the ground out. Dr. James Pace, put this together. He is our ceramicist. And so we just took it from, here's the way you find the pottery. This was found in R square E5. And then what do we do with this pottery? So it talks about why it's important. And because it's durable, because it's datable. So we have to retrieve it. We have to make sure we find it by sifting. Then we wash it. Here's the washing process. Here is the reading or determining the period, labeling, cataloging, cutting, describing, drawing, and finally, publication. Okay, so again, these are for those of you who are, very much involved in archaeology. There's no nothing, I suppose, earth-shattering here, but it is a nice way for students to learn. And that was what this was designed for, really for students and instructors. If we go to cultural studies, some of these focused upon, for example, the Bedouin tribes of the Karak region and kind of a history of it. It's here by Dr. Vandersteen, who has done a lot of work on this. You might know her name from some of her other publications, but this, of course, is made for students. And so you see we have a lot of information here with images that you could use. What's another one maybe to highlight? Bedouin on the Karak Plateau. This was done by a couple of the anthropologists who worked with us. They were particularly looking at some of the Bedouin tribe in the area and how the local village there had hired a Bedouin to take the sheep out to feed. They also took a look at the some of the weaving techniques of the women. For example, here you can see they're weaving near a tent, and it's the long rugs that they're making there. The goats that they have there, the drop spindle spinning. Okay, and there's a lot of things here you can look at. We don't have time to look at all of these, but perhaps I should highlight one environmental study at least. Perhaps, well, let's take a look at soils of the Karak Plateau. Dr. John Foss, as I told you, he is a well-known soil scientist, taught at the University of Tennessee for many years, and has worked at many archaeological projects. So he's the one who created this map of soil map, and looked at the soil characteristics of the area, and then how that would affect the history. So here you see he set up this chart with this kind of geology. You end up with this sort of soil, and then what can you grow there, or how could it be used for grazing, for wheat or barley, that sort of thing. Okay. And then finally, let's take a look at a historical study. Here's Kasher Bashir. I showed you a picture of that earlier. So yeah, we do have one on the Roman forts of Arabia and their location. The purpose of Lime Arabicus and the legionary fortresses in Arabia and so forth. And also in historical studies, perhaps we should take a look at Dot Ross just for a moment. So here we surveyed this area, and we took pictures of it, measurements of it. Here's a map of sites of Nabatean remains or ruins near our area in the Karak Plateau and just beyond, for example, Khirbet et Tanur. And here is a drawing that was created. Photographs, some speculation as to what deity was worshipped at the temple, and so forth. Okay, so this is, you know, we could go on and on because we have several of them here, but I don't want to sort of bore you with that if it's not something you're interested in. But I just want to let you know that it is there, and you can have access to it at any time via the interwebs. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So, Professor, could you share this link with us on the chat so everyone could?
Oh, yes, no problem. All right, I'll
Okay.
do that. Let me get that address, and this is the main, let me go back to you now. And here is the address of what I was just showing you. That's the main page. And then if you go in, you can find the others. Okay. All right. Do we have any questions or comments?
ميسي. أي حدا هون عنده أسئلة أو ملاحظات أو comments أو تعليقات ممكن تسألوا بالعربي أو تكتبوا كتابة.
Good evening. I actually have a question. My name is Maria Elena Ronza. Thank you for the lecture, very interesting. And you have quite an impressive digital resources which are available. And so there is any plan for an Arabic version?
Oh. Well, no, I'm not at the time. I mean, I don't know now with technology has been updated. If I could take my Arabic skills are not strong enough to do that. If I could run it through a computer program, perhaps it might produce an Arabic text, but I would have to work with someone who is a native speaker on that to make sure it's not, that it actually is correct. But yes, we don't have that. The funding is no longer there as well. So a lot of this work would have to be, I guess, a voluntary thing, unless we could obtain some other kind of grant to translate this material into Arabic, which I think would be wonderful if we could. We didn't have the resources when we did it, but now that it's put together, I think it might. I'll have to explore that. That's a good idea. That there might be a way to. I know there's like Google Translate and different things like that. I don't know how well they work, or technical, like some things that are not sort of conversational or sort of normal vocabulary. But that is a good idea.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
في حدا ثاني عنده أسئلة؟ Let me check our Facebook channel to see if they have any question here.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been on a Facebook Live before, so that's all new to me as to how you would figure out. I guess somebody would have to be out there monitoring any comments that are out that way. I can't see any of that stuff, so
I
that's
guess
fine.
for now, yeah, we do not have any question, but I have a question actually.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, so I saw that in this project you connect different period and different topics that it's related to Karak Plateau studies, let's say. But is there any plan to make more cooperation with the researcher who are working here in Jordan and covering different project and different area that it's have somehow a connection between those area and Karak?
I see. So you're saying, for example, another excavation or another region, like say up at Balua, or maybe
Yeah, for example.
maybe at Heshban or some.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Part E, I mean, I don't have plans for that. I think
Mhm.
it could well be done, but it is it does take quite a bit of time and coordination. And with these other projects, part of the problem that we had, or challenges that we faced, was getting permission for the photographs and the data. You know, since we were producing our work, our archaeological work, survey work, our team was asked to do this, and they were happy to do it. Also, we had to be careful that our photographs were our own. In other words, ones that we took, not
Mhm.
ones that we obtained from the internet, or, you know, sort of borrowed from, because we didn't want to get in trouble. And so this would be, I think, one of the challenges would be, I think a lot of people might be willing, but it would be saying, okay, are you willing to give us, you know, because a lot of this information we have there is stuff that's still yet to be finally published, and some people don't like to reveal their data, their information, before it's complete or before it's published. You know, sometimes they want to keep it more secret or something. That would be one of the things. So that would be an overarching project to do this. I mean, certainly, I think it could be done at different sites across Jordan. You know, much like Jadis or something, you could go in. This would be great to have sort of fitted into that, where you could click on the site, and then here are case studies related to that site. I can imagine it in my mind, but to do it, I think it would be a monumental project. It would take, I think, a lot of time to do that. But yes, that is a wonderful idea. Translating all this into Arabic, and then connecting it to other sites. You know, like, for example, Petra. Look at all the material there you could do. Petra, or you know, Balua, even things closer. If we just said, okay, just Moab area, or maybe up around Amman, you know, the different Heshban students and excavators there. And then the periods, you know, we could got all the way from Neolithic to desert castles. All these things would be wonderful to have documented this way. But I can tell you that it's, as someone who was overseeing it, it's sometimes, and maybe you've experienced this too, it's sometimes difficult to motivate people to get all their work done on time and in a format in which you can, makes it work. Oh, okay. Somebody has a phone call.
No, it's a street.
Oh, that's outside. Okay.
Yeah, it's
I hear
from,
the horn. I didn't know if that was your
yeah,
phone
yeah,
alarm.
yeah,
Okay.
it's mine. I'm sorry for that.
No
Uh,
problem.
yeah, for this project, I think it would be amazing and really like a research treasure if it would be possible to, you know,
It
wide
would
it.
it would take
Yeah.
a lot of coordination, you know, because there's so many different projects, and they're done, you know, by different, like, people from America, people from England, people from, I don't know where all, people from Europe, local, you know, excavations of universities and Department of Antiquities. I think it would be quite ambitious to do that, but I think it would be a very useful thing to have an archive, or, as we're talking about preserving the culture, you could preserve the way things have been done, you know, because, you know, some of the stuff that I've showed you were things that were done 15 years ago, some, you know, 10 years ago, some maybe a little more. And so even going back and looking, things are different now than they were when we first took those images. Some of those things maybe are no longer there. Like we went out and documented an Ottoman, the ruins really of an Ottoman village, and it was, you know, sort of falling apart, and that was many years ago. And so I imagine that has continued, and so it doesn't look the same today because it takes so much money to preserve things physically. I guess if you could try to preserve them electronically, it's not as, you know, I mean, it'd be nice to preserve everything physically and electronically, but at least it gives you a record of it.
Yeah, sure. We have a question on Facebook from Abdurrahman Abul Saud. He's asking, is there any plan to inscript this site in the World Heritage List of UNESCO?
Oh, plans to, you mean Medebi or you mean the VKRP? I guess I'm not sure. With UNESCO, you make it a UNESCO world site or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. I think he's asking.
Yeah, don't be honest, I don't know the process for getting a site listed. I don't think our Medebi site would, you know, I mean, it's a pretty high bar to be called a World Heritage Site.
He say KVRP.
Yeah, VKRP.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know that process. If somebody does or has a contact, I would be happy to have it listed or to communicate, but I don't have any contacts with UNESCO. I suppose if this bigger project you're talking about with connecting all of them, you know, this would take something like that. I think a real cooperative thing with funding and coordination, because a lot of people would have to get on board, you know, the directors, the Department of Antiquities, the I don't know, all the photographs, all the data. And then of course it's the housing of it, or I guess I'll call it the housing, the repository electronically. That's been one of our challenges over the years, is storing the data and then upgrading it from our first website that we created. And of course, even the software that you create it with becomes somewhat obsolete. Our first images were quite small because that's all the web, it's all really the web browsers and stuff could handle at the time. They couldn't handle like they do today, huge images and video. We don't have any video on it because video was takes up so much bandwidth at the time. So today, yes, I think video would be a great thing to have, to incorporate, to say, okay, here I am, here's what I'm doing, I'm digging here, or I found this. This is sifting process. We do have some video stuff that we've never put on the site, I suppose, but it has been, you know, as these projects go, for example, Karak Resources Project and the Virtual Karak Resources Project, it kind of has a lifespan because of the people. The people involved get older. I don't know about you, but I get older, and the director's getting older. People want to retire. We've had several people who are retired, or some of them, unfortunately, even deceased. And so then how do you maintain the servers and the data and then updating it? Who's going to do that? Most people who do that kind of thing want to be paid. They don't want to volunteer. And so then you have got to find a funding to store it, funding to update it, funding to create it. So these are ambitious projects, and I would certainly be interested in them. But I think this, to have it across, say, the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan would be a great thing. But that would be a huge, huge project. It would take a long time.
We have also Wasan Al-Hujran. She is saying, thank you for talking about one of the great things that we have in her hometown.
Ah,
And yeah, she is saying that she is willing to help to translate
okay.
this data. Yeah.
And what is her hometown? Is she from Karak?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I guess she is from Karak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, our group, you know, we lived, you know, in the summers right
Mhm.
near the castle in what used to be the government rest house, and then later was a hotel. And so we became quite familiar with Karak, and we used to eat right there near the castle. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so well, if she is interested, then let's see. I'll just put it here to maybe make it easier. If anyone has suggestions or needs to contact me in any way, there is a good email address for me. Okay. Just my name at Gmail. So, but you got to remember those little dots, john.d.wineland@gmail.com. So that's a pretty easy one, maybe easy to remember. So that's a pretty easy one, maybe.
Yeah, I will share this email with her.
Okay.
I will write it on the chat so that she could
Yeah.
back to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Just remind me of, you know, when she sends an email, remind me of who she is.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think that would be wonderful to be able to have an Arabic version. I still think maybe, you know, I'm gonna have to experiment and then see if I could run the text through something like Google Translate first. Might save a lot of time, and then have somebody look it over. You know, if they could read the English part and then take a look at the translation and then make corrections so that it makes good sense.
Yeah, and this would be a nice and good idea, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And make it accessible to more people that way.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess now we are done with the question. في حدا عنده أي أسئلة ثانية؟ ممكن يكتبها بالشات أو ككومنت على الفيسبوك. وسن بتمنى نكون جاوبنا. ممكن تتواصلي مع الدكتور من خلال الإيميل. You will be here in Jordan this summer?
Not this summer. No, I won't. I won't this summer.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I won't.
So yeah, I share your email on Facebook comment, and I guess now we are done if no one have more question.
Okay.
So, yeah, thank you so much. It was a very interesting topic and very interesting project, and this would be very useful for the researcher here in Jordan. Yeah, and it will be a treasure of information. Thank you very much. It was very interesting.
You're welcome, and thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed it, and I want to wish everyone good evening. It's getting late there, much later than it is here. So
yeah, thank you.
Get some rest.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.